and gents, welcome back once again to the Rich Cheese Radio podcast, your home for horological hot takes, taboo topics, and often unpopular watch opinions. Joining me on episode 112 is none other than my good friend, Mr. Schmidt. Schmitty, what's cracking, bud?
Man, just happy to be alive, happy to be recording another episode with you and back in the saddle. So loving it. Happy 112.
Yes, sir. 112 it is. We've got a bunch of, we got some news. We got some new stuff. We got an NWA. We've got
Oof.
a whole bunch of things. So I guess we'll kick this off. I'm sure everybody saw Mr. Brock Purdy was wearing a Black Bay to the Super Bowl. Kind of
Yes.
I said peculiar choice, right? I mean, I know he's not making a ton of money. He's still on a league minimum contract.
That'll change.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, he's going to
That'll
get
change.
signed. He's going to get signed long term by San Fran, and he'll make a ton of money, and he can upgrade. But it's an interesting choice, I think. Like, I always wonder how a guy like that winds up there. Like, does he roll into the watch shop? And he's like, Rolex, and they're like, this is an expensive watch, and he's like, I don't have that yet.
I don't think it's so much as that, as I honestly thought it was more so the team colors.
It is. It's a burgundy.
Well, if you
They're
think
a
about the old
burgundy
school,
team.
if you think about like the old school like San Fran logo, right? You had kind of like that old gold, white, and then the maroon or the burgundy, right? So if you kind of extrapolate that into the Tudor Black Bay with the gilt markers and little gold accents, the white on the loom, the burgundy of the bezel, I think it's kind of more the team color rather than like, oh, this is an inexpensive watch for the quarterback, you know?
No, I mean, I'm not saying he cannot afford a Rolex. I'm saying that given his salary and things, you might just be like, you know what? I'll go with this $4,000 option. Seems nice,
Seems
right? You
fiscally
get
responsible.
the salesman sells up this is a Rolex offshoot.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just as good, right? It's just as good as a Rolex. That's what they all tell you when you walk in, right? So I could see somebody who's maybe not in the know getting, I don't want to say swindled. It's not swindled, but steered aside in that regard.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. So I wonder in that I just wonder how you arrived there in that way. Like, did somebody put him onto that? And they're like, hey, this could be a good look for you, or was he like, let me just stroll in here and see what's good? Or I mean, if you remember, I think it was when Zach Wilson, the Jets, well, he's back up now. When he got signed, he actually went up with a Hulk through Watchbox or a Kermit through Watchbox for the
Mm,
draft,
yeah, yeah.
which was interesting. But just that I always wonder how people get to where they end up in that
Yeah,
respect.
you never know. You never know. And it's unless they end up on talking watches with Houdinki or something like that, you'll never really know kind of the background or the starting point, if you will.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's kind of cool to see that somebody who's very relevant right now, especially in sports, especially in the NFL. Unfortunately, they didn't win the Super Bowl, but he did a pretty decent job of keeping it close, which I think was more than what people expected. And I enjoyed the game, even though it was a couple weeks ago now. But it was fun, good watch choices, and happy for Patrick Mahomes. But I would have been happier for Rock. So
Yeah, no, great game. I mean, you had OT. Can't really ask for more than that in a Super Bowl. Close game.
yeah, yeah. Although there was some weird stuff with like the downs changing. I don't know if you caught like any of the videos on this. Like
I saw that, and I
I
think
don't know what to make of it,
from what
but
I
I'm
looked
like,
at, I think it was
whatever.
just an error on the part of I think it was an error on the guy on the TV end. Maybe he was like cycling through and went to the wrong one, and then he got
Yeah,
caught in between. But yeah, but
it's
you know what? It's
just
funny
interesting.
that happens every Super Bowl. Though you'd be so surprised. There's always some tinfoil hat guy who will rewatch the tape in super slow mo and count the. He'll try to match the seconds to the seconds running off the clock, saying somebody's
Yeah,
cooking
yeah.
the clock or somebody to let Tom Brady get down the field to kick the field goal to win the game. Like there's always one of those, and it's always on YouTube, and the comment section's always rowdy. So it's it was, like I said, it was a good game. I'm happy for the Chiefs. They did it again. Like I said, can't really bet against Pat Mahomes at this point. He's just a
Yeah,
stud
yeah,
of studs. I mean,
yeah.
they said Tom Brady would never, nobody would ever do it again, and here he is.
Mm-hmm.
Just walking the walk. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. It really is. 3 by 28. Three rings by
That's,
28.
I
It's
mean, like, here's the thing though, like, where do you go from here?
he's got to go for the all. He's got to try to beat Brady's all-time record. That's what he
I
has to
mean,
do. That's
100%, 100%. And we're not
he's
a sports
already passed most people.
for sure. And we're not a
If
sports
you're lucky, you get
podcast,
one.
but it's just like, yeah, I mean, again,
If
that's the thing. Like, if you're lucky to get one,
right,
right?
if you're really lucky, you get two. Like the Manning brothers each have two.
Yeah, yeah,
Drew Brees only got one.
yeah,
Aaron
yeah.
Rodgers, I think, only got one. It's crazy. So you think about it,
That's,
kid has three. He's 28, barring crazy injuries and or like disaster of some kind. I mean, his his entourage has some weird stuff going on in it, including his brother. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. His
it's just
brother's a
crazy to
little,
think about.
brother's a little weird, that's for sure.
TikTokers,
What are you gonna do?
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Anyways, it was a good game. We got to see some watch stuff. Um, Something interesting I came across after at the end of our last episode, we kind of had a quick brush over watches and wonders potential stuff. And I mentioned how so every year we predict Coke bezel, GMT, maybe might be this might be the year. Somebody, some sleuth on the interweb saw that there's a patent out by Rolex
Yep.
for a bezel, and given I guess the pigments used, it cannot make Pepsi colors. It can make red. And basically, what the person broke it down to is that the way that these colors develop, it can either make a Coke bezel or you're going to get something like a blue and brownish, goldish, or some kind of color.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think we're going to get some kind of an interesting looking GMT. Who
Yeah, I
knows?
saw this. It was I think it was Nicoloy that on Instagram that really kind of found the U.S. patent, and good for him because bro, you got a lot of time on your hands and you can do it. So go forth with God and do it.
Yeah, boy.
But I'll say this. I mean, it's an interesting thing. It totally makes sense though, because what a lot of people don't realize about how the Pepsi bezel is created is it's not actually two different colors of ceramic.
Yeah, I heard about
It's
this.
Yeah, so that's why when you hit it with UV light, it turns like all magenta.
Yep. Yep.
It's because like I don't know which is the base color, if it's the red or if it's the blue, but whatever they do is they start out with a singular color and then they'll basically chemically treat the other half of the bezel to change to that respective color. So that's why when you look at the scales on exactly the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position, kind of where the blue and the red meet, if you take a high power magnification and look at it, it's not a crisp delineation between the two colors.
I have seen that. Yep.
It bleeds
Yeah,
into the other.
it's a rough transition. Yep.
It's a rough transition, right? And that's why they were only able to do the standard colorations for so many years is because it was too difficult to produce that transition in two different types of ceramic. Now, you guys know where I lie in terms of loyalties to brands. Omega was actually the first company in history to do this in ceramic, where they were able to do two different types of ceramic in the same bezel, baked at the same time.
What reference
Um,
was that in?
this was the white and black Planet Ocean GMT.
Okay.
So where if you were to take it and break it in half, as it's been explained to me, you would see white and then you would see black in the cross section. Whereas, it's the other one is a modified bezel. It's the same color all the way through, then they treat it and it changes the color.
So the surface. Yeah. Okay.
So it's more of a surface treatment, exactly. And if you were to take the bezel out, it's going to be the singular color on the other side, right?
Right. If you flipped it over. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why it was very difficult. And they could only do certain colors like black to blue because they're very similar in that color transition, right? The red and the blue were very difficult. And that's why when you look at some of the Mark One Pepsis, the red is almost like a magenta color. It's like a purpley red. Whereas now the later evolutions are more of a stark, like Pepsi red.
The fuchsia,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
as the boys call it, the fuchsia.
Yeah. Exactly. And that
You
was
pay more for
because,
that now.
yeah, you do. But that was because they hadn't quite perfected it enough that it was the right coloration. And it took a few more years of development for that to really come full force to be the true red that we have now. So it's going to be interesting Like you said, based on the patents, it indicates that maybe it would be a red black, or and some people think maybe a gray black. At this point, man, I don't care. What's going to happen is going to happen, and there's nothing you and I are going to do or predict or say or whatever. And everyone's getting all riled up with the predictions right now, which we'll probably talk about later. But it's I don't know. It's just it's interesting to see what
Well,
they're
I'm
going to
I'm
do.
not hopping in any wait lists, but I need this meme fodder, my friend.
I mean, that's true. That is 100% true. I am definitely not hopping on any wait list, especially not now. I'm a little watch hold out right now.
Yes, yes. We'll get to that momentarily, if you will. Um, Another fun piece of news. I don't know if you saw Marky Mark is rocking a Norcane.
I did. I did.
I mean, I think everybody's probably seen it by now, but he wears a skeletonized wild one with the turquoise accents. Pretty neat. I mean, interesting choice, certainly by him. I know he's a big watch head as far as he's got some really,
But
really,
he's got like high end
yeah,
stuff.
high
Like
end stuff. I
really,
mean,
really high end
it's a
stuff.
watch that's up his alley as far as
Yeah,
design
yeah.
goes. I think that's where probably it hit for him. But I mean, you see him with all the rare stuff. I want to
I
say
mean,
he has a Tiffany Nautilus. I think,
he's got everything, bro.
but yeah,
He's
he
got
has
everything.
all the sick stuff, all the new heat he always has, and then so to see him with that, it's definitely an interesting choice. I mean, it's clearly up his aesthetic alley.
Look, man. Everybody needs a beater. Okay. I mean, think of it this way, right? Like most of us would not consider a $6,000 watch or whatever the wild one is, because I know it's on the upper end of
Yeah,
Norkin's price point. They're not gonna, we wouldn't really consider that a beater, but I mean, when you're wearing, $500,000 watches, like you need something a little bit more low key
yeah,
that's
you wipe
cool.
your
And
ass with $6,000.
exactly, right? And I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not throwing shade at Norcane by any stretch, right? Yeah, so it's 5790 on the website, so 6,000, right?
Yep.
I'm not throwing any shade to them. Good placement for them, whether organic or inorganic. And I'll give a shout out to Catlin.
Hey, Catlin.
Her and her team. I don't know if they made this happen or if it was just an organic thing where Marky bought this watch and started wearing it. To me, that's how it kind of seemed, at least on social media, because like all of a sudden it was everywhere. And the one thing I thought was interesting is he did that late night interview show. I think it was with what
It's Colbert.
Colbert, right? And then I saw him like a few days later, like golfing, and he was still wearing the watch.
I did see that. Yeah,
I was like, okay, so it's not just like they put this on him to wear on the
it wasn't a
Colbert show.
product placement. Yeah,
Well, I mean, again, and it very well could have been, but the difference is typically a product placement is like they're gonna wear that one watch for that one
yeah,
specific moment. This was a couple days later, and he was still wearing the watch in something completely unrelated to what he was doing on the
and it was
Colbert show.
kind of a like a candid photo. It wasn't really like it wasn't a staged
No,
photo op. Yeah,
it was him driving a golf club on an iPhone. Like there was nothing like fancy about this photo. But it was a cool moment for Norcane
certainly.
and great marketing regardless. I mean, if you go to their page right now, the first watch that pops up on their website is the turquoise wild one.
As it should.
I mean, as it should be. And to be honest with you, of all the ones that they produce, all the watches that they produce, that one always has been my favorite. I think it was featured towards the end of summer last year, and I know we talked about it at one point in time. I just think it's a cool watch. I think it's a sexy watch. If I was looking for something that was, all of the Hublot vibe, something very like Miami South Beach, but I wasn't gonna drop $25,000 to get something like that.
Yeah,
That's a really a novelty type of watch. This is perfect.
yeah,
Like
it gives you a little avant-garde option.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's skeletonized. Like who doesn't love a skeletonized watch?
Yeah, so pretty cool. And yeah, if that was organic, honestly, that's a really cool moment. Like I
I
would be
I would imagine that it was. I mean, there's very few things that are inorganic these days, and a lot of people want authenticity. They want originality, and him wearing it, e- even if it wasn't an organic placement, like he did do something with the stylist to get that watch. Even if that's the case, what a hell of a get for Norcane.
yeah, for sure.
because I know that those things are not easy.
All right. Speaking of new watches, do you want to share your new watch arrival with the folks?
No, I'm just gonna
You gonna let it simmer?
just gonna listen. No, no, no. We talked about this. We hinted at the last time we recorded, so I'll talk about it now. I've had the watch for week and a half ish, I think officially or so, something like that. But I was very fortunate to finally get a very hot watch that even still to this day, 2 years after its original launch, is still next to impossible to track down and locate. But I was able to snag me a brand new Aquaterra Terracotta from the 38 Shades collection that came out in 22, but was really hitting the market last year in 23.
Right.
So yeah, that's my new big hit. And I don't know, man, it's
And that's the 41, yeah.
38.
Oh, that's in 38.
38, yes.
Very
They
nice.
only made the shades in 38
I
and
couldn't remember. I know
34.
they only made them in one size. I couldn't remember. I figured it was
Yeah.
41 because that seems to be like the going rate these days.
It is the going size for
That's why that's interesting.
all the new Aquaterras are normally in the 41 size, but this one, the Shades collection, actually I don't even know if we talked about this yet. Omega launched a 38 millimeter Aquaterra with the green dial. So we had the 41 before, but now there's a 38 millimeter reference with the olive green dial and on bracelet or on rubber strap.
Interesting.
It was a quiet release that nobody really saw, but it's on the website. You can find it. So if you liked the 41 in green, now you can get in 38 in green. Um, but the shades, man, like I love it. I can't stop looking at it. I think it's so cool. I have an older Aquaterra, from the when was this one? Probably I've had it for 10 years. So I would have gotten this around 2012, 2013-ish, somewhere around there. Night and day difference, man. Like literally the difference between 10 years of development from Omega
I mean, you would
is
hope.
is I mean you would hope, right? But it's literally like night and day. Like all the things that I had that were complaints about my previous version, I don't have the same complaints about this version. I mean, the dial is insane. The red is amazing.
It's a
The
beautiful
high
color.
polish. Oh man, I'm in love with the watch. I'm absolutely in love with the watch. And I didn't think I would go back to a 38. Like I was like, you know what? That was the biggest regret that I had when I got my first Aquaterra. I was like, I should have got the 41. And like now that everything's trending back, it's like, no, this is
38 kind
right.
of feels right. Yeah.
It was right. It was right. It was the right call. It's a cool color. Like you can only get it in this thing. I've never seen really any of them in the wild. And I mean, just being able to get it was just like crazy, crazy, crazy. So very fortunate, very happy. If you have the opportunity to snag one yourself, go do it. The shades are amazing. So do it.
Very nice. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into new stuff. And we could start off with someone who's got plenty of new and interesting shades, and that is Baltic.
Oof.
It's been a hot minute since we heard from them.
Yeah, but they come back and they come back swinging,
Yeah,
dude.
I got to check their stuff out a little bit at Wind Up, but now we have a new watch called the Prismic.
Oh, it's so
It's
good.
a small seconds. I guess you'd say this was a cocktail style watch, right?
It's really reminiscent of like 40s and 50s Paddocks.
Yeah, that's kind of yeah, I get that vibe.
You know, it's very like classically Paddock in certain design attributes. But you know, Baltic, they always have to put their spin on everything. And I think the Prismic is literally the perfect rendition of this. You get a small seconds. I believe this one is actually a Solita movement, if I'm not mistaken. Hand wound caliber, but on an integrated mesh bracelet, which just bangs. Or you can get it like on a classic, like almost like pebble grain leather strap.
Yeah.
But the colors, man, they are phenomenal. You have like a dark emerald green. You have this beautiful like royal purple
Yep.
and kind of like this coppery salmon dial and then almost like an ice blue.
Yes.
Oh, dude, at this point, I don't know which one I like more, to be honest with you. The dials are so dynamic. There's a lot of guilloche here. You have a lot of textural elements. And then I love the fact that the hour markers are pyramids.
Pyramid. Yep.
Oh man, it just wins. Like it literally just wins. Like if you were on the fence and you're like, you know what, dress watches are coming back. I want something unique and special. Run, don't walk to buy this watch. Like this is the one to get. This watch, it's amazing.
Yeah. And so, like we talked about, a lot of geometry going on. You've got small seconds, you've got pyramid markers, you got a lot of sharp edges going on. I like the fact between the pyramid markers and the integrated mesh, this is definitely a throwback, even though it's somewhat of a supposed to be an up to date release, but this is definitely a bit of a throwback. But I like it a lot in that regard,
Yeah,
and really not bad. I mean, it comes in at 990 euros, so it's going to be around 1,000 some odd dollars. A little bit on the
very
high
affordable.
end of their price range, but overall in watches, that's not terrible.
But again, it's an upgraded movement too. So before, Baltic kept their prices down because they were using Chinese movements. But if
Yeah,
this
but
is
even
what I
then, they
think
were
it
at six
is,
six hundred bucks, 700 bucks, something like that.
yeah. But I mean, again, it makes sense. Like if you're doing a better finished watch and you're doing a better quality movement, it's going to increase a little bit. But to do it, let's say it's $1,100 US. Okay, that's still Hamilton range.
Yes,
That's still Tissot range. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Swiss brands that are in that, and I think it's a fair price. I really do.
and we should say this is a 36 millimeter watch, 20 mil lugs, sapphire, 30 meters water resistance, Guilloche. Yeah, so this is it's going to be a little dressy. If you're not a dress watch person, this might be on the little dressy side for you. But I think it's nice. I think the colors are
Mm.
really nice. I think they did it right, not doing like a black and a white and a gray. Like I think these
I
are
mean, just
snazzy.
just lean into
Yeah,
lean
they
into
did
the
that.
color,
They
man.
they
They
definitely did that.
they did 100%. And I mean, for me, I'm just gonna say this: like, if I was gonna buy one right now, I'd probably buy the purple. Like,
Purple's
why not?
nice.
Like, why not? Like, I own a red dot watch now. Like once you go with like a full color like that, like, why not make all your watches colorful?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of where the industry's been for a hot minute.
I mean, it has.
Yeah.
And for good reason. This is going to be that golden era that we're going to look back on in 5 to 10 years when everything goes back to silver and black, and we're going to be like, man,
This is gonna be the Stella era.
exactly. It's like, man,
Yeah.
remember when we had purple dials?
Yeah. 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 That's the truth. That's the truth. So speaking of everything being black and silver, Zen has some new watches out.
Oh God.
We got a bunch of new U50s. These are the U50 Hydro. They are oil filled, and
Yay.
for those who don't know, that beefs up your water resistance significantly. The U50 normally is 500 meters. These go to 5,000 meters because we definitely need that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
These are quartz movements. They are Ronda quartz. You and I talked about this before. We think it's to keep the thickness of this watch down. It still comes in
Yeah.
under 12 millimeters. It's the 41 millimeter case that we're used to, and they come in around 2,400 to 3,400, depending on what configuration you get. There's a fabric strap, there's a fully tegimented bracelet. Um, yeah, so they usually give you some different choices. I don't really like the hydro on the dial.
I hate it. I hate it. I think it's a horrible choice. But
Yeah,
I think that they had to do that there to differentiate it enough from everything else. Because literally before we got on the podcast, before we hit record, I was like, what changed?
yeah, but couldn't
Because
you just make it like the U50H, like just a little lowercase h?
I mean, you would think, right? There's a better way to do it than said like we're gonna put hydro in, block letters and we're gonna underline it and superscript it, right? Like it's just gonna be like two
I
lines
just keep thinking,
flanking the
hell, hydro.
hydro. I'm just like it's just silly. It's just silly to me. With certain things like that, and we'll talk about this later too with the with Yama's release, but there's certain things like just put it on the case back. Like we don't
Yeah, or
need
just
it on
give
the
a little subtle
dial.
nod on the front. Just you can give a little one, little,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
just. I mean, come on, man. Like there's so many better ways to do this. Like this is not the 2000s anymore. We don't need to use our dials as real estate for marketing. Use the case back. It'll be okay. I promise.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree on this one. A little subtlety would have gone a long way.
Yeah, but it's just in terms of design overall. I mean, Sin is very. I mean, we think Rolex is conservative. Like Zen doesn't even change anything. I had to ask you, like, if these watches were actually new, and you're like,
Now
yes,
the
they have oil inside of them. I'm like, okay,
yeah, they kind of just change up different configurations. Like even this one, it has the same handset as the U50.
like the fliggers, like the pilots and stuff.
Yeah, but the more recent U50s that came out, not the Pro, it was the ones with the funny. I think it was the titanium ones.
Okay,
They came out with this handset. The one that you're typically used to the Lego hands
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah,
U
yeah.
series, which I'm a big fan of. I like the Lego hands better
Those hands are cool. Those hands are cool. I will give them that. It's
personally.
like the one that we see here on the Super Luminova dial.
Right, and that is the extra bonus one that we got. There's a U50 500 piece limited edition. It is a full lume dial, which is it's kind of neat. It's a little monochromatic. It's black, it's white, and that's all you
I
get.
mean that
But you
that
get
one hits. That one hits. You
no,
know
it's
how I feel
cool.
about
It's
Lume
definitely
dials.
cool. Yeah, we've been on that kick for a hot minute now. But this one's a limited edition. Comes in at 34.90. Uh, and I was the T50. That was the name of the last one I was talking about, the T50,
Gotcha.
not the U50. But yeah, this one gives you the Lego hands. It gives you lume dial. Everything else is jet black, black case, black bracelet, black markers, black bezel.
Yep.
But it gives you that cool night diver look, which we're a big fan of. So I don't hate it. I like it better than
No.
I like it better than the other three Zens.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
And this one is indeed
100%.
automatic. This comes with the Salida SW300, I believe.
Yeah, SW300. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
So
I mean, I'm for it. I mean, if I was going to pick any of these four, it would definitely be the Lume dial. I think it's the nicest looking one. I love the H-Link bracelets that Zen has always characteristically done. And you know how I feel about Lume dials. I'm a huge sucker for them. This would be my pick for sure.
mhm.
The the oil filled watches, honestly, man, I could give two craps about.
No, it's
Like,
a novelty.
I mean,
It's a talking point.
water resistance, amazing. 5,000 meters is not a small feat, especially given the thickness of this at
Yeah.
under 12 like that in and of itself is an engineering marvel. The biggest concern is serviceability because for me, you have to think about like, can any normal watchmaker change the battery on this, or is all the oil going to come out, or like
Hmm.
what are the criteria here to do this? Because I know that they'll use like oil a lot on like depth gauges and different types of equipment for measuring things underwater because of its pressure integrity. Basically, you're adding another thing that the pressure can't squeeze against because in typical watches, it's just a crystal. Well, if the crystal's compromised, then it's going to go right through. But now that has something else that's not quite as is not quite as viscous as water, that acts as another barrier for the crystal for the pressure to push against the crystal to push against the oil, and that helps to disperse the load of the pressure. So it's a cool engineering thing. It's just like in a watch, is it basically useless? Yeah,
Not sure if it's practical.
definitely not practical at all. Definitely not
Yeah.
practical. Although I will say this, the oil also allows you to view the dial from any angle.
Oh, that's cool.
Because even if you're looking at it like straight on like this, but you're looking at it at this side profile, the oil will actually enlarge the markers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it can kind of give it a little bit more legibility underwater.
Yeah, my father was in the car industry, and back when I was graduating high school was the big like upgrade your car, pimp my ride phase.
Oh
And so I
God.
was like, oh, this is cool stuff. Like, oh man, like should definitely upgrade. Like, I had like a Honda Civic that was like a perfect like car to mod out. And he's like, listen, the more cute stuff you put on your car, the more stuff can break and the more that needs to be repaired. And that's
Yep.
I sometimes take that approach with watches where I'm like, ooh, this is a good point.
Yeah. I mean, and think of it this way. Look what happened to all those Pimp My Ride cars like a year after they
It
were
did. Well,
like
did you ever
in,
see there was like a revisit to it, and like apparently they just did shoddy work and like just made the
yeah, the
outside look good, or just
yeah. It looks good for the camera, and then you're the owner driving this car around, and you're like spoilers are falling off and everything's like rushed and your paint is peeling because they didn't actually put a clear coat on it before they finish, airing the show. And it was a disaster for these people, man. It's like when they used to do like, the extreme home makeover and they would like
yeah,
rebuild your entire house in like a day. It's like how much like I know how long paint takes to dry, bro. Like there's no way you can do this in that accelerated amount of time. It's just not
yeah,
it's not feasible.
yeah. Good meat ain't cheap. Cheap meat ain't good.
Yes, that is true.
All right. Moving on to one that is somewhat relevant to our last episode. Tiso has partnered up with Damian Lillard. For those of you who don't know, he is the point guard of the Milwaukee Bucks. He plays with Breitling ambassador Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he's got his own PRX now.
Yep.
It's perhaps not the household name that we were debating about last time, but if you know the NBA or you're familiar with his sort of moniker, whether it be through Space Jam or whatever, his little shtick is his name is Damien. He goes his gimmick is Dame Time. So instead of game time, it's Dame Time, and he points to his wrist. He hits a big shot, game winner. Hits something from the logo or from half court because the dude has insane range. He pulls up and he gives you a
Hmm.
little. He points to his wrist, and so that is on the case back here, and it's got sort of his silhouette with Lillard carved out of it, and so you get that on the case back. You get his sort of his little D monogram on the counterweight of the second hand, which we all know you like very much.
Hmm.
You love
Hmm.
counterweights, we know.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But it's
The dreaded counterweight.
yeah, it's a gold PRX with a Powermatic 80 black dial with some a little waffle action going on there. Overall, it's a handsome watch.
Yeah.
It's
I
it's a
would
little
agree.
gimmicky, but it's handsome.
It's definitely a little gimmicky, but I mean, the integration of the Damian Lillard aspect of the watch is pretty subtle. I mean, again, like
Well,
the
here they took your advice and put it on the case back.
exactly. That's all I'm asking, man. It's okay to have it. I mean, even the little D, which would normally be a little bit much for me, I could always do without it, but I understand it, and it's a subtle enough aspect of the design of the watch that I don't feel it's super prominent, you know? And then like the whole case back thing with the Dame Time, it was integrated well. They give you like a little relief under the crystal. I think it's cool because he's pointing to his watch, so it's about time. I think that all of that makes sense. Okay, I'll give it to them, right? I can overlook this. But plus, again, it's a TISO. All right, it's not $20,000. You know what I mean? Buying a TISO like this at under $900, I can do with a little bit more creative license because I don't feel so bad about spending $900. It's a different thing when it's like a $9,000 watch or $20,000 watch. You're like, oh, it's got Black Panther on it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. I wonder if LeBron will pull up on one of these.
I mean, it's also funny too. It's like the perfect low key hype watch because if you're thinking about like the crowd that Damian Lillard is in, he's obviously around dudes who are rocking solid gold APs and Nautiluses and all that kind of stuff, and it's just like a low key like gold PRX, and somehow from a distance it fits perfectly within that whole mantra.
Well, you know what else though? Like we kind of reference every once in a while. Not everybody's doing great economically.
Yeah,
This is a nice offering for maybe somebody who is not in the know, maybe not into watches even, but they see something that looks like this at a price that's not outrageous,
yeah,
and they say, I could get into that. That looks nice. I could rock that. So, and I
and it,
believe I think it was what was it? The first 100 people got an autograph box with it.
yeah, yeah, I
That's
heard
cool.
that. I thought that was cool too. It's like he signed the boxes individually. He only did 100, which is cool. And the first 100 people that buy this watch will get a Damian Lillard signed box, which I think is awesome. Why not? You know. Plus, at the end of the day, you're getting a PRX. Everyone loves this watch. 80-hour power reserve. This is the upgraded version now with the different hairspring that Swatch Group has been using in these lower watches. It makes it anti-magnetic to some degree. I mean, it's not a slouch of a watch either, you know? So it's good to see that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Moving along, Volcane has brought back the Grand Prix. I believe this is a 36 millimeter watch. It's a little dress watch, got a pretty basic dial on it.
Yeah.
Time only, not even a date. Um,
Doesn't
uh,
have to have it, you know?
no, no, no.
It's just,
But this is actually a cheaper offering for them. Recently, I mean, most of their stuff is in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. This one comes in
yeah.
around 1,400 euro, so not terrible. It's a 39 millimeter watch, 12.7 thick. And yeah, it apparently it goes back to some story about back in Spain they had some exposition and the king presented it with a Grand Prix honor, which is why it's called the Grand Prix.
The
And
Grand Prix.
yeah, so you get silver dial, champagne dial, black dial. That's kind of all there is to it. But at least they give you a little bit of a more affordable option. Whereas, like I said, most of their stuff, the crickets have all come out pretty expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And it makes sense too, right? It's just the complexity of making that movement.
yeah,
I mean, this is a very simple time only, no date. Like you said, champagne, black dial, silver dial, very Mad Men esque.
yep,
It's a cool watch, very legible from a zombie brand that's really starting to resurrect itself into something. I think it's a nice offering at a very decent price point. That's all I'm
it,
gonna say about it.
yeah, it's
I don't
nice.
I don't disagree with any of I don't dislike any of the color dial variations. I think they're executed well. My personal favorite is probably the champagne.
Yeah, it's
This
a good color.
just because it's a little bit more punchy, it's a little bit more low key in the
Yeah,
sense that it's on a like a calf brown strap.
yeah, and I think
Just
it fits this time period.
yeah, it just reads more casual to me, but the color's more punchy. Um, but they just look nice. It's just simple and classic and clean and timeless.
Yeah.
We
Well,
we say that a
the
lot,
story
but
goes
it's
back to the
timeless.
30s, so that makes a lot of sense. So these
Yeah,
are very classic in that regard.
yeah, for sure. It's just good looking. And my first Swiss watch was a Vulcain, and this reminds me quite heavily of that. Although mine is a manual one and not automatic. But
Yep.
here we are. Here we are.
All right. Citizen is rehashing their Suyosa line. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that is the 40 millimeter Citizen that I'm sure you've seen everywhere. Kind of has the shades action going on its own. They offer it in basically every color now. I mean, even
Yeah.
super flamey orange to green to everything. I think there's a
Fume
camouflage. I think there's a
dials.
camouflage dial now.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. All
but
right.
now they're giving you a small second with a very complex pattern dial. I mean, really, really nice for the
Yeah.
price you're paying. This is quite the little work of art here, and they come in 359, 379 euros, so a little probably 400 plus. But we all know you can get these a little cheaper than that, which is always nice. But yeah, they're really nice textured dials with small seconds. I've seen blue, I've seen yellow. I think there's a green I've seen also.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
forget gray. I've seen a gray. So really nice for the price. You know, kind of your entry level sort of sport watch look. And they've been killing it in this little arena of theirs. Like they've been trying to make these affordables really fun. And I saw them come on with like the yellow originally a lot of people
Hmm.
had, and you know they released a bright pastel blue, so a lot of people got that one. But
Yep. Yep.
they've
Yep.
got everything. I mean, they've got every single color. So you know, if you're looking for
Yeah.
something maybe a little
This.
more on the fun side, a little more affordable, if you don't have a sort of dressy sporty watch, you want to get into something for a good price, I mean, this could be it. And it's an automatic. You know, not all Citizens are automatic. A lot of them are Eco Drive or whatever. These are automatic, so it's a nice little find. And again, it's something fun at a very agreeable price point. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you're right. You can get camo. I did not know
yeah,
that
you
was a
saw
thing, but it
that.
is there. Yeah, I will say this though. It's a nicer kind of variation of camo because it's all shades of green
Yeah, it's not.
rather
There's
than
no
like
brown and yeah,
yeah, it's not like brown and tan and it's like what are we doing here? But dude, the fiery sunburst orange,
You saw
dude.
that? Yeah, it's
Oh
nice. It's
man,
cool.
that is it's literally like Gatorade orange.
Yeah,
Like
like
it is
if
like
you were a fan of
bright
the of
orange.
if you were a fan of the Coral OP and didn't want to jump through all those hoops and just wanted something that looks like it, like that looks enough like it.
Yeah, for sure. Get good choices, and thickness is good, movement is good. I mean, it's a Citizen. It's gonna work forever, basically.
Yeah.
And now they have leather strap options because I'm looking at the gray one,
Yep.
and
Integrated
that
leather.
one it's an integrated leather. How about that? That's probably my favorite of the new dial
You like the
variations.
gray?
I do. I just think it's different enough. Like if I owned a previous version of the Suyosa and I was like, oh crap, they just came out with these new colorways. Like because the other ones were only ever sold on a bracelet, I could see myself buying that one on the leather strap.
Yeah. Okay. Makes
You
sense.
know, you have something a little bit more subdued and you have something a little bit more punchy. That would make sense for me personally.
Alrighty. Moving to the opposite end of the price spectrum. This is a fun one. I'm sure you're enjoying very much. Omega has
Yes,
released the
yes.
Constellation, which is a watch that we're very fond of, and our entire friends group is. Our whiskey and watches friends were a little bent out of shape. We didn't shout them out because they love the Connie as much as anybody, but it's all good. It's all love.
Oh,
But
shouting
they,
them out now, right?
yeah,
There you go.
that's right. Make amends. But these all have meteorite dials, and these look so good. These are some of the better meteorite dials I've ever seen. Like these are very crispy. They are nicely, I don't know what you want to call them, striated, if you will,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's just very nice detailing on the dials. I'm a very big fan. I mean, they're the gold ones, the moonshine and the sedna both look really good to me. I'm if I had that kind of dough, I'd be all over that. The blue is
Yep,
really
yep.
nice. The green is really nice. The black bezel is really nice. They made some ladies models as they always
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't you talk us through what you know about this? Because I'm sure you know probably as much as anybody.
I mean, it was a quiet release from Omega. It wasn't
Yeah,
really done
kind of
with
snuck
a lot
out.
of fanfare. But what I'm excited to see just off the cuff is the integration of a cool dial into kind of a more mainstream collection. And not making it limited or specialty or rare in any way. It's just like, hey, we're producing these with meteorite dials now. They come in all of these different flavors. I think it's a bold choice. It's certainly a cool one. As far as I know though, this is we talked a little bit about this before with meteorite. I don't know the exact composition of this one. I've heard a lot of conflicting information. Even the Omega website has a little bit of a conflicting information concerning what type of meteorite this is. And from what I can gather, it's the Moana Lista meteorite from Sweden, which has a different type of striated pattern than your traditional kind of like Gibeon meteorite,
Okay.
which is used in the Omega Speedmasters and Rolex GMT Masters, things like that. JLC Master Controls, so on and so forth. Everyone's used the Gibeon meteorite. The problem with Gibeon, so I've heard or I've read rather, is that it has an extremely high iron content, which makes it not suitable to be used for anti-magnetic watches,
Okay.
which totally goes against Omega, right?
Yeah,
Because that's like
that's
their big shtick, right? Like
yep.
we make anti-magnetic watches. So from what I'm gathering here and what I've kind of done a little bit of preliminary research on is the Mona Lista has very similar Windman satin pattern, which is the crystalline structure of the actual meteorite, the striated pattern that you see on the dial. It has very similar Windman satin patterns, but I think it has a different iron composition that makes it suitable that it can be used on an anti-magnetic watch. Because all of these are master chronometers or they're quartz. So um, we're seeing kind of the first integration of meteorite into a different type of movement that can be resistant to magnetism, which to me is kind of cool. It's a little bit nerdy, but I can certainly appreciate the nuance given what most people know about this material. But other than that, man, the colors are amazing. Like, I mean, I'm not a two-tone quartz lady per se, but like this like dark blue glaciery structure in two-tone for a lady with diamond bezel is like it's hot.
Yeah, it looks
Like
good.
it just looks good. Um You're also seeing some integrations in full gold, as you mentioned, like the full yellow gold and Sedna gold. The meteorite on these looks nuts.
Yeah.
And if
And
I
like,
can't get,
yeah,
and
and if you're a bro who can't get a 222 because you're not cool enough, man, this is a darn good 1A.
I mean, and even that, and like even if you can't get a date just or Prezi, you know what I mean? Like you can't go get a president right now. Why the hell would you want to have this? Like it's got space rock on the dial. You know what I mean? Like that to me is that's a flex. It's a little bit of a flex. And these just look good. I mean, we got different metals between, full gold, like you mentioned, steel and ceramic. The blue one that's in the full size is steel and titanium,
Yeah.
which I don't know if you caught. The bezel is titanium on this one. And that's got the dark blue dial. I mean, they just look good. I'm very excited to see these when they hit the stores. To my knowledge, they're not out yet, like in the retail space. But if I was gonna look to add a constellation to my collection, and I've waited this long, I could wait a little bit more for one of these bangers
Yeah.
because these are sick.
Yeah. 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 I gotta agree. Got to agree on that. All right. Plugging along. I think we got one left here. Yema is putting out another micro rotor. I think they've had it previously in the Wristmaster. Now they've got it in the Superman. They have the Superman Slim CMM dot 20. I'm not exactly sure where that name comes from. But no, I think it has to do with the manufacturer. I believe the caliber is some 20 in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're getting the Superman diver. It has that sort of a clasp lock. I mean, not clasp lock, crown lock look to it that they have
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
their
Hmm.
divers. They always have funky bracelets on their stuff.
This one's cool though.
This
The
one's like
scale
a
bracelet's pretty
weird
sick.
scaled 5 link. Um, Kind of looks like a Jubilee. And yeah, it comes in blue or black. I'm not gonna lie, the blue looks an awful lot like a Black Bay 58.
Oh, now that you said that, yeah.
The
Especially the
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 black
the,
doesn't
the color
obviously
of blue.
because yeah, it's the shade of blue
It's the
really because
shade of blue,
the
yeah.
black doesn't really because it doesn't have the gilt or anything or the red, but the blue, that shade of blue is very very close. I mean that
Yeah,
might
I
have
could
been
totally see that.
intentional, maybe not, but
I could totally
um,
see that.
yeah, but it comes a little close. And these are up in the high end of their price spectrum as well. These are around 24.90 US. Um,
Yeah.
you're paying for technology. They're trying to make their way up, like
Well, and
everybody else is.
it's an in-house caliber. I mean,
Yep,
that's just the
yep.
the big thing that we had to do. I mean, we talked about this off air. It's a blacked out
It's a
movement
nice
with a
looking
micro
movement.
rotor. It
Yeah.
looks amazing. It's very symmetrical. It's very eye pleasing, and you can tell a lot of design and a lot of thought went into the development of this movement. You got to give credit where credit is due. It looks good, um, and for them to charge 22.90 or whatever the hell it is. I mean, let's be honest. A similar watch to this in terms of build quality would be like an Oris. And I would actually probably rather have this than an Oris because the movement is that much more interesting to me. The overall design attributes of the watch are that much more interesting to me. Like I love the scale bracelet, I love the locking crown, bezel mechanism. Like those things are kind of cool. They're kitschy and they're different, but they make the watch overall cooler than and more unique in my opinion. So
And
why not give a little props to a French startup?
not for nothing, 39 mils by just a hair under 10 thick for a dive watch.
I mean, they call it the Superman Slim for a reason, sir. And that
These,
micro rotor certainly does help.
yeah, yeah, it does. But those are some nice dimensions. I would like to try one of these on, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do these guys ever come out to wind up?
Yes, I believe they. I'm pretty sure they were there because I remember
Okay.
talking to the whoever was at the booth about that. I have the Mecha Quartz Panda.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yep,
And we didn't cover this 70-hour power reserve.
very nice.
70-hour power reserve. So you're getting a 70-hour power reserve, micro rotor, blacked out movement, very symmetrical, looks very cool, ultra thin, cool caliber. Definitely check it out.
Yep, yep. Okay, and so all of that we just touched on is gonna feed a little bit into what has been sort of on my mind lately, and that's the everybody's talking about the predictions for watches and wonders, but I'm talking more about just where things are currently at and where they're headed as far as trends go. I mean, certainly things I've seen today, some of which have continued things that I've been noticing. I'm definitely seeing a lot more meteorite
for sure.
these days. I mean, I think a lot of people originally for I can't remember which watch it was came out, but people were saying, "Oh, this might be the year of the moon phase." We've been in the GMT phase quite a bit.
Yeah, for
We might
at
be
least a year
yeah, I don't
going
know
on
if we're
over a year.
leaving that or not, but we've been in the thick of that. But we're definitely seeing a lot more meteorite. I mean, we've seen it in many of the micros,
Hmm.
in some offshoot Rolex here and there, but now it's really making its way into a lot of the big boys. I mean, we've seen Zenith recently with the El Primeros. We're seeing the Constellation. I mean, these are mainstay watch lines now that are putting these out.
Yeah,
So these
and
aren't
I think
just
and I
yeah.
think the first one of this year, at least to my recollection, was the Lunar Pilot, the Bulova.
Ah, very nice. That's a good call. Yes, you're 100% right on that.
That's I think that's the first one that you and I were kind of like, maybe meteorite.
I mean, it makes
We're
an
all
awful lot of sense in that watch.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it totally does. It's like a Speedmaster and meteorite, right? It totally makes sense. It's always funny to me. This is like an offshoot. People are like, oh, the constellation. Like, why does it have meteorite? I was like, well, constellations are groups of stars and they're in
they're in
space.
they're in space.
And they're like, oh yeah, yeah. I was like, okay, you forgot.
I mean, they literally used to have an observatory on the back of the
I
watch.
mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, some models still do.
I like that.
My
I think
Globemaster has it. My
I would
Globemaster
keep
has it.
that. I like that.
It is quite a beautiful medallion. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's one I know that's been sticking out in my head specifically. Meteorite. Another one I really think we keep talking about prices, and I think it's just a factor of we're kind of in a weird financial time as far as the cost of things and all this, you never know, inflation and rates and all this. And
Yeah.
not everybody pays attention to that, but I think everybody pays attention to, you know, money is not necessarily going as far as it has been.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see brands putting out the affordable goodness in spades a little more often. I mean, we're seeing plenty of Seiko 5s coming out now,
Okay.
right? You've seen this Suyosa lines just going, they're just railing on that with Citizen. I mean, Citizen's been putting out, they've been creeping up the ladder recently, but also you're seeing a lot at the bottom tiers with that regard. Orion's putting out some new stuff. I've seen that they have some interesting they put out the 38 millimeter Bambinos. They
Yeah.
now have I saw an Orient Star recently. It has sort of like a cloudy looking dial, almost like Grand Seiko does. So they're trying to get their stuff back on track. They've
Hmm.
always been a really good
Hmm.
affordable option. I don't know if you've seen Casio's been putting out a lot of not so like analog watches in
Yes.
a lot of like pastel colors. So, sort of just getting in on
Yes,
that
yes,
colorful trend.
they're like it's basically like a quartz version of a Suyosa, like super bare bones, but like pastel colored dials, bracelet.
Right. Some of them are fluted bezels. Some of them are the
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
edifice line, but you're
yeah,
getting a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
those pastel colors. They're getting in on that game, but at very, very affordable price points. And
for
it's just
sure.
something I've seen popping up more and more. And people, they seem to be hitting with people around the internet from what I can see. I mean, they're not really
Yeah,
my
there's a
cup of tea
guy.
per se.
Yeah, they're definitely not mine either. But I've seen a guy that posted one. It's kind of a sub reference of that greater collection, and it's a Casio, but it's like a moon phase quartz version too. So it's got like the moon phase calendar,
Interesting.
maybe like a day and date, like in a sub dial. Almost looks like a chronograph minus the pushers, but it has like a moon phase if I'm not mistaken. And he always posts it. I'm always like, that looks nice. Like if I had $75 to just blow on a whim, like why not? Like it's one of those like drunk eBay purchases. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
this hits. And then it's one of those watches like you'll get and you're like, yeah, I'll give this to the barista who's always been nice to me at Starbucks. Like, hey man, you look like you need a cool watch. Like here you go. It's just like one of those like token giveaway watches, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it would be a cool watch to make somebody's day and just get something in the hobby or just to have a
Yep.
nice time element. It just looks nice
A
and
nice seed
presentable.
planter.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But the thing that I'm noticing myself and what you're saying about the lower end spectrum aspect of is there certainly. But I'm also starting to see the complete 180 opposite, where like the higher tier brands are getting more and more and more and more expensive. And it's like, is that going to continue, or are we going to start to see the higher end brands, the Omegas, the Zeniths, the Breitlings, the Rolexes, are they going to give us something that's going to be in that lower price point? Or are they going to continually say, hey, you know what? We're going to have our annual price increase every year.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not in the low prices, but it's always a weird thing. You wonder if in the boardroom, if they're like, listen, people who buy our stuff are going to be able to buy our stuff, and
It's a
that's
very
that.
real possibility.
It's a hard thing to grasp, especially because we're not there and we don't play in those realms that they do of crazy money like that. But they might just say, listen, this is our price point and this is who we are. And people who can afford our stuff buy our stuff. And
Yep. And
that's
they're
our
going to buy it
customer. Yeah,
regardless. They're going
that's
to
our
buy it
customer.
regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
So they might say, we don't have to come down like that. I mean, there's plenty of people who are sort of filling those niches. Right. I mean, even you've seen Oris sort of run the gamut from cheaper to now much more expensive. I mean, there's a lot in there, but that's why I'm seeing these sort of they're not super affordable, but I mean you're getting a good span, like I said, from those Casios to the Timexes to even the Swatch releases. I mean, 260 for a Moon Swatch, a little more for a Blancpain, but by comparison to what you could be spending, I mean, not crazy. So
Yeah.
I think people are seeing the value of still making accessible and affordable stuff. I mean, you saw what they raked in on the Moon Swatch, and
Yeah.
I really think, I mean, I really think Seiko should bring these resin. I mean, they're not divers, but
Oh
they're
yeah.
dive style watches. I think so. They should really bring those over to the U.S. and just
They would crush. They
make
would
them
kick
ultra
ass.
available. Because I mean, I've realized today that I've been wearing this one for about a year and just beating the piss out of it at work every day, and it honestly doesn't look any worse for the wear, and it's still ticking right on time. So
Well,
I
it's a
think,
Seiko. It's a
yeah, I mean,
Seiko.
it's got a 4 hour movement in it. It's not like it's got a slouch movement. So yeah,
No, I
I'm
mean
I'm
you don't have to do the Seiko shake to wind it up every
no,
day. I mean
but
that's for
I
sure.
really think they should really make these available, and and just go, a whole bunch of different colors and just go nuts on them. I think
Dude, could
I,
you imagine that in like a full pink or like a full like turquoise blue? Like that would just be awesome.
it would be cool, but even
Awesome.
I think the fact that it's resin, you can get away with making, do the entire bezel one color, do the case one color, like go nuts, do weird dials, it again. I think this was I can't even remember what they cost. I think it was like 190 or something.
Dude, it was something like egregiously low.
Yeah, it
Like
was
for
something like, I mean, if it's terrible, I won't even regret it.
yeah,
So I feel like that would be an awesome
I think
offering.
it was 190 because like we both decided to be a little bit extra generous to the guy that helped us get them. So
Yeah,
I
I was
think it
gonna
was
say, I think it
probably
was
like
cheaper than that. I think it
175
was
and
like
like
175. I think you're
and
right.
we're like, yeah, 190 sounds fair. Here's like 15 $20 for your
Yeah, with
trouble,
shipping
sir.
from Australia. I mean, but I think that would be a sick move, and I think if other brands want to hop on that, I think they should. I mean, people are kind of down with the alternative case materials, even if they are
Yeah.
something cheap like a resin or a plastic. Like if you can make it where it doesn't feel cheap, or you can make it that it's an attractive piece, people will still buy it. So I
Yeah,
I, I would like to see some of that.
it's like I haven't worn my Rescax is as often as you have, just for other reasons. But I mean, I love the watch. I put it on. It's like it's a cool freaking watch. And this is one of those watches that like eventually, like it's kind of funny to say, but sometimes like I buy stuff like knowing I probably won't wear it, but like my kids probably will wear it at some point. And to me, it's kind of like, this is a watch I could save for a kid. Like they go to high school and they're like, "Hey, Dad, I want a cool watch." Like, and if I lose it, you're not gonna be sad. Like, here, take this ResKX and go forth with God.
Yeah, go.
Just go beat the piss out of it and just enjoy it. Because
Yeah.
if you lose it, you break it, it gets stolen. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. But in a time where I think you want to be grabbing as many new watch heads as possible, I think that is a superb way to do it. Is offer
Totally,
entry level
totally,
stuff
totally,
that
totally.
looks like your cool stuff that you already have, and make it playful and fun, and just get the hooks in them now, and don't worry down the line. I mean, I think I mentioned my wife's cousin. He just got his first watch, and he was the one who showed me the cocktail time he wanted to buy and everything. And I saw him the other day, and I said the first thing I said to him was, "So have you bought your second yet?" And he's like, I've been looking, and I'm like, "Yeah, I do know you've been looking. Like I was degenerate like
I
you,
was you. I
I
was
was
you.
you."
What do you?
So it's just funny. It's funny to see it play out the
Well,
same with every single person.
did he kind of see where he was at? What is he thinking?
I can't remember. He showed me something. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a Citizen. I remember that. I can't remember which Citizen it was.
Suyosa.
It might have been. Now that I think about it, it might have
Might have
been.
been Suyosa. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad pick. That's for sure.
No, not at all.
You go
So,
from like cocktail time to like sport dress. Yeah, I can see that.
well, you get one sort of ultra detail, and then one
Yeah,
that's like sort of very plain, but not any worse. Just you know, standard looking watch.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, those are some things that I have sort of been on my radar. I'm also curious if color will fade out at some point, like if the color thing will get played out.
Oh, it's
You know,
going to 100%.
well,
It's
I
going to.
and you know what it is. I'm seeing, and sometimes these sort of mainstream but not so mainstream brands will sometimes be the canary in the coal mine on stuff like this. Like I'm seeing a lot of like earth tones from like the Nomoses, right? A
Yeah.
lot of like the brown, the copper, the
This
gray.
this whole like the no color aesthetic thing, I hate it, but it's coming from TikTok to like home design and decor. It's like this whole thing of like having the absence of color is like neutral everything. I'm like, this is gonna be in the watches soon, and here we're I think we're on the cusp of it. I completely agree with you. We're like on the cusp of this like less color, less saturation, less neutrality, everything neutral, 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 and I'm just like I'm not here for it.
Yeah, and you're 100% right about that because they are remodeling the interior of my workplace, and a ton of it is just white,
Beige.
gray. Yeah, I'm like the people who are there every day are like, isn't this kind of like lifeless? But all right,
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah,
Like it's modern, okay? It's modern.
yeah. It's so stupid. And give it 5 years, and we'll be back on like dark gray and like black and dark
We'll go back to
blue.
blue and green.
I'm like, oh my God, just it's like somebody has to justify their job. So someone's gonna be like, this year's the Pantone color. This is it. This is the color of the year. And then everything is based off of that one color. And then it changes.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
the truth.
okay,
That is the truth.
it's okay. I'll just keep rocking my red dial watch and everyone else can go be beige and boring.
Yeah, but then you know what happens 10 years later? They're like, oh, why didn't I buy something like that?
That's what I'm
That's how
banking
it
on, dude.
goes.
That's
That's how it
what's
goes.
funny is funny is like a lot of people don't know this, but Omega made a red dial Aquaterra like 20 years ago. It was only for the Japanese market, but it was a like first generation Aquaterra from like the early 2000s, but it had a fire engine red dial. And like you can find them online, but it was like a JDM piece only and super rare. I've never seen one, but I know that they exist. But it's like, man, to be able to like at the sales counter be like, yeah, this is the one. That's the one I want. And then to be able to do that like 20 or 30 years later, like, yes,
Yeah,
this is
there's
it.
a rare rendition of the SARB, the 035033, like the prototypical affordable
Hmm.
dress watch.
Yeah.
There is a red dial variant of that. It's very rare, but
Yeah.
like they go for big money now. And if you were lucky enough to snag one, like
But that's my whole thing. It's like why not? Like why not try to get something cool and unusual that will be unique and unusual. I mean, because the way I look at it, this watch is already unique and unusual now in 24. Like, what's it gonna be like in 34?
yeah,
10 years from now, when the entirety of the watch industry has devolved and then evolved again, it's still gonna be fucking cool, right? It's still gonna be freaking cool.
by then that'll be considered a small watch again
Yes.
when they're all 46 and 47 millimeters.
The God, oh, 38 millimeters. Only girls were at 38s.
I had this meme that I was working on, and I think I have it saved in my drafts, and it's pretty funny. I took I took a diagram because my younger son is very into dinosaurs now, and so I
Okay.
happened to take a diagram of like the eras and the time periods, like Cretaceous,
Yeah,
Mesozoic,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
just replaced them all with like traits of watches that were popular then, like so it was I only brought it back like let's say 10 years. So 10 years ago was when the jumbo watches were cool. And so
Yeah,
the
yeah.
so the period is jumbo, but the era is small PP because like you're clearly
You
compensating.
compensating,
So
yeah.
and then next to it I have an example. And so it's got a Panerai and a big pilot, and you're and but so like I went up the whole thing and I haven't posted it yet because I'm not sure if it's perfect yet because I no matter what somebody will give me flack for one of my choices and blah blah blah, but it's just that's the
It's
cost
probably
of
because they
doing
have
business.
it's probably because they have a big pilot and small PPs. So
Yeah, but but I fully accept, and this is in the caption I have set up for it, that I began in my small PP era because my I was started off with the Turtle. I mean, it's a 44 millimeter watch. That's not a small watch. I began in the small PP era. All right, I own that. I'm not running from that. But I'll put it up
and you
one day
did have
soon.
a
But I
Panerai. You
just
did
don't
have
think
a
it's
Panerai.
I just don't think it's perfect yet. So I haven't posted it, but it's there and it's in my mind constantly.
It sounds like it's gonna be hilarious when you do post it.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. But yeah, as far as trends go, you have anything spicy you think is coming down the pipe?
I think right now is kind of the weirdest place for me because I feel like whatever's about to come next is completely unexpected. That's just the way that I've been feeling about everything. Like normally over the last few years that we've been doing this, like I can kind of spot certain trends and we can say certain things and we can predict certain things. But like now I'm in this mode where I literally don't know what's coming, when it's coming, how it's coming, and what's the market reception of this because and we talked about a little bit about this last year. I just feel disconnected. I feel that more so now. Like I feel like I know what I want to come.
I'm having trouble trying to decide if watches have become passe or not.
I
Like I don't dislike
I
them anymore, but I'm trying to gauge the overall feeling towards it.
I mean, maybe.
Like obviously they were hot during pandemic, nobody had anything to do, they were all curious for a new hobby.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
definitely we definitely hooked a lot of people,
yeah.
but I'm trying to figure out if it's still in an uptrend, if it's maintaining, or if it's just sort of dwindling out as far as the public is
I think
concerned.
it's plateauing. I think it's certainly plateauing. I think all this exponential growth, which is fantastic. We got new people into the hobby, but now it's kind of like they're like, "Oh, well, I guess all my Submariners I bought during the pandemic aren't really worth anything now. I'm losing my butt on it, so let's just sell them." And it's just kind of like, "Yeah, that was a cool thing for a moment, you know?" But I'm just in this point where I don't know what brands are going to give us. And it feels like everything that they do give us up until this point is like, is it necessary? Do I need it? You know?
Yeah, I do think we're due for some new lines, like some new interesting lines
We
from
gotta get
companies.
something,
We're getting
man.
a lot of the same stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Is like whatever I hope is coming is gonna be something that is gonna be big and completely different than what we've been receiving. Okay. Let me just, to be devil's advocate, Speedmaster. Like, if I'm gonna do a Speedmaster, give me something new. Like, give me a new Speedmaster. Give me a new 300 meter. Like, shake something up. You know, I think people are looking for the unexpected, and I think the brand that can really deliver that is going to be the brand will be quote unquote crowned the brand of the year. You know, somebody can do this that will knock everybody on their butt, and I think that's the challenge. Like honestly, man, I know people are like doing all these Rolex predictions and stuff. Like I've looked at them all. They're the
It's all
most
the same
it's
stuff.
the
It's
most
all the same ones as every
uninspired.
year. Coke, bezel, titanium, this, it's always the
This is
same stuff.
so uninspired, man. Like just and all it is clicks for your website. I get it. I totally understand it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's
It's but come on, bro. They're not gonna listen to you. They're not gonna give you a blue yacht master with new hands on an oyster flex. They're not, and they're not gonna take away the fact that it says Yacht Master 2 in the most garish text on the bezel because they want you to hate them, and you're gonna hate by it. It's just I don't know. There's so many moving parts right now in the industry. It's kind of hard to isolate. We're seeing the growth of the lower tier market. We're seeing the rapid expansion of the upper market. We're seeing brands slowly starting to plateau and fail. We're seeing economic downturn on the horizon globally, and so people becoming more restrained with their finances, which I totally understand. And I'm just kind of like Watches and Wonders is like a few weeks away, and I'm just kind of like,
Yeah,
hope it's
it's a little
good.
bit, yeah, it's a little bit of bad timing on that front,
Hope it's good.
but yeah, but you know what it is? I think it's a lot of what we talk about. I think it's like the I think it's wide open for the Tag Heuers of the bunch to make a splash. I mean, they don't get me wrong, the glass box has been a welcomed addition for them, and I think that was a really
Totally agree.
really
Totally agree.
good. They gave you the skipper, they gave you that new greenish looking one with
Dude, the Wizard of
both.
Oz, man, the
Yeah.
Emerald City, like I want to make that name stick, by the way. Emerald City or whatever they call it. Like that's a nice looking tag.
That's what I'm saying. It's a very nice watch. So I think if they can keep that momentum up, I really think that they have potential to regain some market
I
share.
mean, but that was also before they had CEO changes
I
and the
know they're
entire
playing, like I
shakeup of
said,
the
Russian roulette or musical chairs
yeah,
in
exactly.
their boardrooms over at LVMH. But
I'm like, bro, okay.
I'm telling you that whole LVMH just seems like one big episode of Succession.
Well, it was funny. I mean, I totally agree with that. But it was funny. I was at a jewelry store and somebody that was there um by coincidence used to work for Tiffany. And this was in like the last few months. Like they had just recently exited and they were saying that here in the United States, the entire upper organization within Tiffany that was there prior to LVMH, not a single person from the United States Tiffany's is in control of anything anywhere for all
Yikes.
Tiffany operations in the US. Like they have literally wiped the slate clean with everyone that would have been from Tiffany Company from prior management before LVMH, and they just wiped everyone out. And everyone now is like a French dude. He's like, I had to leave. He's like, I could not stomach it anymore. Like it was just like it was getting unbearable. Like everyone that I respected, everyone that I knew was getting canned. They were getting fired. They were transferring out. It was weird. So and like now they're all replaced with these different people that don't really understand American culture per se. And he's like, I couldn't do it. I had to leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most successful brands
Yeah.
around.
I mean, we'll see how long they stay successful. I mean, we talked about the Pokemon nonsense last time too. So that happened. You
Yeah,
can Google it. It
it
was
happened.
real.
It's a real thing. It's not April yet.
No, definitely not April yet. Although April Watches and Wonders might be an April Fool's joke, waiting to be unpacked. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're like, "Oh, we're finally getting a platinum Submariner." I'm like, "You've had the same prediction for the last 5 years. Eventually, it will probably come true."
Yeah. Well, it's almost like everything is on some anniversary always. So it's always, oh, it's an anniversary. Let's see.
Yeah.
Right. And, Rolex always does this for this anniversary. So therefore, it must be this.
For the 75th anniversary of the Submariner, we're gonna do a platinum and
An ice
chocolate
dial.
brown. I'm like, it's the same rendering. You just change the color of the second hand every year.
Nah, that's all about the
It's
clicks.
it's
That's
it's
all.
it's
The
different.
name Rolex drives traffic. I mean, that's just a fact. That's all it is. And, you
Yeah.
know, letting people fight in the comments section, get you engagement. That's what it's all about.
Oh, sure. Of course. I
Right.
know
I mean,
that.
that's why you see all these I mean, even the blogs now doing these kind of cringy posts with where they put like three tiers of watches. It's like $1, $3, $5, and they're like, you have $8, build your perfect collection. And you're like, stop, come on. This is like this came from like sports Instagram where you were like build your perfect team and you get like a point
Yeah,
guard, a shooting guard, and a center, and it's like okay, yeah, all right, fine. You
I'll
know,
bite.
you can get you can get John Stockton, MJ, and Shaq for $8. I get it, but like like you don't need this kind of traffic. Come on, this is child's play. Most people who are in this hobby are 30 plus. I will say most. I'm not gonna say all. I'm not gonna say all,
I would agree with that. I would
but
agree with that.
even just based on my metrics of who, because I could see who follows my stuff. I mean, and I think even my content trends a little younger than most,
Uh-huh.
and even mine are like 25 plus. So like, but like you're a venerated watch blog. You don't need to be making content like that, not for nothing.
Yeah,
And like
yeah,
now
yeah.
you're even seeing like even I mean even Hodinky's on TikTok now. Like
They gotta hit
cringeity
Gen Z,
cringe
bro.
cringe. Like
They gotta hit the Gen Z, man. That's the next demographic. That demographic that doesn't give a crap about you. They want you to change everything that you've ever done as an organization that's made you successful to their every whim. And as soon as you change it, they will pivot on you and you'll become irrelevant. That's who Gen Z is. You cannot understand them. They don't understand themselves. That's what I've been saying for years. So don't do anything that's trying to market to them. Just keep being you and your authentic original self, and they will eventually gravitate towards you. You think Nike needs to attract Gen Z? No, they just
no.
keep pumping out shoes, and Gen Z will want to buy them. This is going to be the big downfall of these companies. They're trying so much to market themselves to Gen Z when Gen Z cannot be marketed to.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of an interesting point.
Like just don't do it. Just keep staying in your lane and keep producing products because eventually you will inspire people to want to own those products.
I agree with that. I think that's a good sentiment.
I mean, it's again, you think Cartier markets towards Gen Z? No, they just produce high profile stuff and they put on the red carpet and people see it in advertisements and they want it. Period. End of story.
Yeah, you got enough rappers mentioning Cartier, as they call it,
Cartier.
as I heard in this song today.
Ugh, so cringe.
Cartiers. I was like,
Got them
ha ha ha.
Cartiers.
I can't remember who it was. Somebody at work was playing a song
Oh God.
on the Bluetooth speaker, and I was like, oh, Cartier. That's funny.
They're like, yeah, what's wrong with that? I'm like, uncultured.
Guilloche.
You got some of them Gio cheese out there?
uh,
Yeah, man. I don't know. I can honestly say I'm not super excited for Watches and Wonders. I know it's coming like a freight
yeah, I
train,
hope I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. I hope I'm
but
going to go with
that's where I'm
low
at.
expectations, and I'm going to be like, yeah, Emil, because there's been years where I'm like, it's going to be sick, it's going to be sick, and
And it's
then
the biggest
you're
letdown.
like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Dude, I remember back in the day with Basel, RIP. Like, I would be the guy that would wake up at 4 in the morning to check all of the postings and everything
Yeah,
because I was like sending stuff to my clients back in the day when I was in the store. And I'd be like, all right, this came out, this dropped, this is the announcement. Check out this. You know, all right, let me put you on the wait list for like I was active, like that was the thing. It's like now nobody cares. And whatever you see, add 6 months, like it's gonna take a while. So I don't know. It's interesting, but really there hasn't been anything that's knocked my socks off in quite some time. I will say though, I think Rolex is due for a hitter. I think that
they
they've
are. I
allowed
would say that they are.
I think that they've allowed the consumer base to become complacent enough that
Yeah,
they're
where
due for something
they're due
big.
for another like when they brought back the Pepsi and everybody's like, "Ugh," like
Yeah, and I don't know what it's gonna be. But I feel like honestly, bro, this is what I think. I feel like if they are gonna bring back something new, like a Coke or something like that, they need to bring it with like a technological revolution. Like it can't just be an aesthetic change that everyone's been asking for. Like it needs to be an aesthetic change and it needs to be a fundamental change to their brand.
yeah. Well, they got the dough to do it. They
They
got the
have the
people
dough.
to do it. It's just more a question if they want to do it.
I mean, that's the
'Cause
thing.
they
It's
don't know
like,
if they have to do it.
yeah, but eventually people are gonna like. I'm seeing it from everyone that I talk to. So many people are turned off by the brand. They don't
I
want to
know,
do.
but
They don't
that's
want to do business
but
anymore.
the bigger thing is that you could even the enthusiasts can turn their back on them and they'd be okay.
No, 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 no. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. My point though is if they're gonna keep themselves on the top of the leaderboard, they have to do something that's going to establish that position for them. Like, let me give you a prime example. There was this guy that I commented on the post. It was a Rolex post the other day about how they produce their 18 karat gold. And basically it was a marketing thing. It's like we take, the best 24 karat gold and you know, we introduce some of the most amazing metals into the mixture to make it the most supreme 18 karat gold it can be, something like that. And in the way that they're describing this, coming from the watch and jewelry industry, I'm like, wow, so you described 95% of how the industry makes gold. And this dude was like, no, that's not entirely true because you could cut gold with tin or with copper and all these other things, and it doesn't make it quite as nice. Duh. And I was like, yeah, but no luxury brand is gonna do
Ah,
that.
a fellow alchemist.
And I'm like, Cartier is not mixing tin
No.
into their gold. So maybe a lower tier product, sure. But anything that is going to be of high value, a Rolex, an Omega, a Patek, a Cartier, a Breitling, like if it is a high-end brand, they're not cutting their gold content with non-precious metals or semi-precious
Tinfoil.
metals. I mean, like I was like, I literally didn't even respond because I was like, this is the most stupid response, and I'm not going to get into a troll fest with this guy who knows nothing about the watch and jewelry industry. But to everyone that was in the comments, like, oh my God, Rolex's gold is amazing. And it's just like a bunch of just sheep, just like, hey, like this is so amazing. It's so cool to see behind. It's like they didn't tell you anything. All they said is they make 18 karat gold. It's the same process as every other gold on the planet,
Yeah, it's all marketing, you know. It's
minus a few different percentage changes to make the gold proprietary. Like it doesn't make sense. But the lemmings buy it as if it's like gospel. It's like I was like, this is stupid.
that is what a name does for you.
I mean, I guess, man. So we'll see. I just feel like they're due for something big, and it better not be something stupid like a platinum submariner.
Now, it has to be something people really want to lust after that they can actually dream of attaining, you know?
Well, I mean, don't you remember they did that? They did that bait and switch when they came back with the Pepsi. They're like, "Here's the Pepsi, it's back." Oh yeah,
Yeah.
by the way, it's a white gold. And everyone was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah. And then a few years later, like, it's in steel. Can't get it, but it's in steel.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay,
Yeah. But
we'll
yeah, no,
see.
I think you're right, though. I think they're gonna come up with they're gonna try to set another trend like they did when they sort of made the color explosion happen.
But see,
Um
I don't think that. I mean, I don't know.
for them that was avant-garde. Like that's not their bag.
Well, okay, I will say the colorful OPs were. I mean, because we're now what a few years on from that.
Yeah.
I'd say that was a big trend. 'Cause that inspired, the Omega Shades and all these other companies to start really doing color again. And okay, call it what you will. Um, but like everything after that hasn't been relevant. Like the celebration dial OP with like all the stupid colors from the other versions, like that was dumb. The puzzle piece date justs and like or not that date just but day dates. Like what is this? Stupid. That's what it is. Dumb.
Yeah, not my favorite. Certainly not my favorite.
I'm sure it at all.
I mean,
Complete waste of time.
green GMT. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Like we changed the color of the Kermit or the Cermit. It's now slightly darker. It's like,
Yeah, but I think that's what they do. I think they're trying to set you up for maybe a decent year this year, but we'll see. I mean, it's all conjecture at this point. We'll see what this wacky bezel is going to come out as, and who knows.
yeah, for sure.
But
But that's it, man. That's all I
yeah,
got.
a couple weeks away. But yeah, till then, keep an eye out, ear to the ground, see if we get any leaks. Right, always somebody seems like they spill the beans a little early.
Yeah, we'll see.
See if Weeko has anything up his sleeve. He wants to.
Oh my god.
He wants to let
The
loose.
leaker in chief, bro. The Civ in chief.
All right. Well, I think we could put a cap on this one, my friend. So I will catch you next time. And
Yes,
you, the
sir.
folks out there as well. We'll see you then.